Welcome into the Football Night Lights podcast. This is Tyler. I'm Jesse. Today we got a jam-packed episode for y'all, mainly about Oregon Ducks recruiting and how they've been doing on the trail. It's been kind of a tough 2025 for the Ducks so far. A lot of recruiting misses, kids going elsewhere, but that's the nature of the beast. We don't really have a lot of NFL stuff to go over. There's not a lot of news to cover right now. We're in the midst of the NBA Finals. And then once summertime hits, it's kind of the slow season. So we'll just be focusing on recruiting for this episode. Tyler, so we had a couple of commitments this past week. One was really
Jet Washington.
Jet Washington, nephew of Kobe Bryant, was a big pickup for the Ducks. Big, tall safety that's going to be flying over the middle and covering a lot of ground on the back end. This guy hails from Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, a top premier program in the country for developing talent. Jet Washington is that next high-impact safety out of Bishop. Tyler, what are your thoughts on Jet?
I think Dan locking down that backfield is going to be pretty crucial. We've had quite a bit of instances where we've been getting beat in the backfield. I mean, we've got to be able to cover guys, that like the Jeremiah Smiths. We got to be able to contain those guys, and I think with what they're doing, we'll be able to contain them. I think Jet is a solid player. He's good at lockdown. I saw a clip that he's just built different. He's not one to back down from a play, and I think Oregon got a dog out of this guy, and I hope he comes ready to play, ready to learn.
One thing I'll appreciate about Dan Lanning is that he understands that locking down the secondary is a big priority, and I really like that you mentioned that we got beat big time by Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate in the Rose Bowl. There's no excuses for it. Kobe Savage, Tysheem Johnson, they were good players, but they weren't elite. Didn't have the elite size or speed to contain Jeremiah Smith. And that's exactly what Jet Washington brings. Jet Washington came down to a final of Oregon, USC, and Alabama. It kind of seemed like it was destined for Jet Washington to go to USC at one point just because Kobe was a big USC fan. And a lot of his family is in LA. The Trojans have been building up on their defense with new defensive coordinator Deonton Lynn, who got hired on last year. So they've been making big strides and big swings in the recruiting trail. They've been really flipping it over from a past couple seasons ago, where they didn't really take high school recruiting that seriously and they didn't lock down the California area. I know Jet is from Las Vegas, but he's got a lot of connections to SoCal. So what a big win for Dan Lanning and safeties coach Chris Hampton. We also got another commitment from wide receiver out of the New York area, Messiah Hampton. Yep. One of Ross Douglas's first guys to ever been recruited to Oregon by Ross Douglas. I think when Douglas first got the job, Messiah was one of the first offers that he sent out to. So a big win for Ross Douglas. This guy is a top 100 player, I believe, and all the way from New York. It's not easy to pack up and move, go across the country and start a new life.
No.
With people you don't know, with just different world, coming from New York to Oregon. It's just a different world, different stage. I think he'll fit in nicely. I don't know if we're going to have a deep wide receiver class in 2026 with how many misses with Chris Henry Jr., Caden Dixon Wyatt both going to Ohio State. We still have Jalen Lott out of the Texas area who we're recruiting. Sounds like he's going to be visiting Texas either this weekend, next weekend. I'm not too sure. But if Oregon can lock down Lott and Hampton in December, I think those would be two good pieces moving forward. Good news is that the cupboard isn't bare in Oregon's wide receiver room, even with the injury to Evan Stewart, which we probably should talk about.
Yeah.
Since I was gone.
Easton suffered I want to say a quad, some sort of leg injury. He's estimated to be out pretty much the whole season. There's a slight chance he could be back before playoffs. It's going to suck, obviously, seeing who was supposed to be their number one guy for the year. We only got to see him 1 year. Hopefully he can come back from the injury, so that way he can at least stay another year and play for Oregon next year if he so chooses to stay. But I think this is going to be great for the next guys up. I think we'll see a lot of Lowe. We'll see a lot of I think Gary Bryant will probably make some appearances. We'll definitely get to see the full potential of DeCorian Moore on the field. It sucks, but it gives these other guys the ability to be able to step up to fill that void that Easton brought to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it gives them an opportunity to showcase what they're all about. Another guy, Jurion Dickey, who we've been waiting for him to pop. They also have Gatlin Bear, a 2024 signee who will be on campus for 2026. So if Evan Stewart does decide to come back, for another year, use his medical red shirt, you have Evan Stewart, you have DeCorian Moore, Jeremiah McClellan, Jurion Dickey potentially, Gary Bryant will be gone, Gatlin Bear, Messiah Hampton, Jalen Lott, if he commits, and then Justice Lowe. I think the lowest rated wide receiver out of those guys is Justice Lowe, who was a high 3-star coming out of high school. And we didn't get to see much of Justice Lowe, we definitely got to see some potential when he played for Evan Stewart. So here are my thoughts. I don't think we should rush Evan Stewart back. If he wants to just take the year off, let him do it. Don't rush him back.
Get him back 100%. So
Get him
can
back.
Have a good draft year.
Exactly. And if you're going to be paying Evan Stewart this amount of money, I don't know how much he's making in NIL, but you definitely want a return on your investment for him to be 100% instead of 50% and re-injure himself during the season. So, Evan Stewart, get healthy, man. We got you. Don't worry about it. I know that Dan Lanning, Will Stein, Ross Douglas will have the wide receiver room unlocked. They'll have it down. They'll have them boys ready. And I really like how you mentioned that this is a good opportunity for DeCorian Moore to shine. He was already going to have a big role in this offense this year, but I think this adds more pressure for him to step up and potentially be that number one guy that they can go to. Personally, I mean, I'm not a football coach, but I would much rather see Jurion Dickey, Gary Bryant, Jeremiah McClellan, somebody on the outside who can be that number one target. And I'm not saying that DeCorian Moore can't be that number one X receiver on the outside. he is a little shorter, 5'11", under 6 foot. So you usually want
bigger guys.
bigger guys on the outside, but you also have potentially a speed advantage where he can just blow past guys.
And that's kind of what we had too with the Tez Istu combo. Neither of those guys are like above 6 foot, but they were quick, and that's what made it easy for them to get on around these these taller defenders. And I think that's what's going to give Decorian more the advantage. He's a quick guy. He may not be as quick as Tez, but I mean he's a quick guy. He's going to be able to get around these guys quick and easy. So I don't really think the height advantage height disadvantage that Decorian Moore is going to face is really going to be a big factor in his route running.
Regardless, I know Will Stein will figure out some way to get the ball to Decorian, whether that be on short passes and let him just work his magic in space, or if they want to take deep shots, he'll be that guy that you can just throw up the ball to and have him go get it. And I totally forgot about Kyler Casper. I don't think I mentioned his name. Kyler Casper, it's his time to shine too. He was injured last year. They saw him more as a goal line target, but I really hope this guy pops off and has a huge season, because this guy is an absolute freak. 6'5", can run with the best of them. He's physical, and like Decorian, if you throw it up there, more than likely he's going to go get it for you. He's going to climb that ladder and go get it for you. So, since we're on the topic of wide receivers, I just thought we'd briefly talk about the wide receiver room as a whole. So while I was gone, Evan Stewart got injured. So I don't think this is a detrimental blow to the wide receiver room. I think they'll be just fine. And then let's hope that Evan Stewart can come back next year, be ready, be that leader in the room for those younger guys, and we'll go from there. So we already talked about Jet Washington. We already talked about Messiah Hampton, the wide receiver room. Let's go back to recruiting. Not all good news for the Ducks. As I previously stated, it's been kind of a rough 2025 for Oregon. Brandon Arrington, the 2026 5-star top 10 player athlete in the country, decides to go to Texas A&M. Came down to Oregon and A&M on the final day. He committed just the other day. I believe it was on Thursday when he committed. So this is still fairly fresh. Yeah. Disappointing news, because you had hoped that Brandon Arrington was going to be either a wide receiver or a cornerback DB at Oregon. He's from, I believe, San Diego.
Spring
Valley. I think that's in the Southern California area. So he's closer to home, and I bet you that Oregon offered him a nice, decent NIL package. And Oregon just has the better track program compared to Texas A&M, but he ends up picking Texas A&M in the end. Good for him. If that's where he wants to go, then that's his choice. Good for him. He's got to do what's best for him. I think the main reason why he picked Texas A&M was due to playing time. I think he saw more potential to get on the field early at Texas A&M as opposed to Oregon, seeing as how we recruited so well this past season with Naeem Offord and Brandon Finney, Dorian Brew, and who else am I forgetting? Well, regardless, we have top-notch corners this year, and going into next year, we have a deep room. So Brandon Arrington probably felt like he had a better chance to play early at Texas A&M. Good for him. Don't burn your bridges ever, because if the transfer portal opens and somebody decides, hey, this isn't the right fit for me, I actually want to go to the school that came in second place. Well, you have that door open. So
Yeah.
don't ever burn your bridges. Dan is very good about not doing that, keeping open communication. Tough loss for Oregon, though. Devon Benjamin, the 4-star corner out of Oaks Christian High School in the Los Angeles area, is going to be their number one target going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Devon Benjamin doesn't have the size as Brandon Arrington does, nor the speed. Brandon Arrington's about 6'2", $190 if I had to guess. Devon is 6 foot, sub 6 foot, maybe $180.
5'11" and a half, 170.
Yeah, 170. So he's not as physically gifted as Brandon Arrington is, but we don't need him to. We don't need him to be all worldly athletic. I think Devon Benjamin is going to be a dog when he comes in, if he commits to Oregon. I think this is the right place. Chris Hampton and Coach Wadud know how to develop DBs. And, of course, Dan Lanning and Tosh Lafloy have great eyes for defensive talent. If they want Devon Benjamin, then they're going to do everything to go get him. So, Devon Benjamin is their number one target right now. I don't know of any other cornerback targets after Benjamin, unless something changes in the near future or down the line.
Yeah.
I don't know. We also have Emmanuel Iheanacho committing August 2nd, I believe. And it sounds like it's coming down to Oregon, Penn State, and LSU.
Maryland's in the mix, too.
Maryland is in the mix. They were leading for a while earlier in the year as he wanted to stay closer to home. But since then, it's really cooled off with the Tarpons. Yeah, Maryland Tarpons. So mainly the big players are Penn State, LSU, Oregon. And I read an article that Penn State was basically, their pitch to Iheanacho was stay closer to home. Your family can see basically all of your home games and some of the away. We have a decent NIL package. We have a great academic school here. And then that really moved the needle for Iheanacho. That really got him thinking. So it's not a lock that he goes to Oregon, but the good news is that Oregon has until August 2nd
To sway his vote.
to sway his vote. He actually is visiting this weekend, believe it or not. So that gives Alik Terry, Dan Lanning a chance to sway him back in their favor, lock him down, and who knows, maybe he'll commit earlier than August 2nd and wrap things up. I know that when you're in the middle of recruiting and you're a high-profile guy, it can be tiring going from place to place, getting told this, getting told that. It's while it's fun, it can be a bit overwhelming. So let's cross our fingers that Iheanacho commits. We've striked out on a lot of offensive tackle talent, I should say, with Jackson Canwell, 5-star, going to Miami, and Cody Green flipping to Washington. Yeah. So we need to lock down a top 10 offensive tackle, and Nacho is our guy. Let's see if Alik Terry can pull it off.
Yeah. We also are pending the decision of Ryder Lyons. I think he's supposed to be committing within the next few weeks, right?
He's actually committing on Tuesday, the 24th. He just took a trip to BYU. Ryder Lyons is of the LDS faith and will be taking a 1-year mission after high school, so he won't be available until 27. Yes. And so it's coming down to Oregon and BYU.
Sounds like USC's in the mix again.
USC is in the mix, but because they already have a quarterback secured in that class in Jonas Williams, who was an Oregon commit at one point.
For the 2027 season or for next year?
2026.
But if he's going to be gone, I mean,
Yeah.
he could still sway towards USC. Not that we want that, but I'm just saying, like, it is still a possibility, especially if they're trying to lock something down
now. Yeah.
So.
It's true. Oregon or USC could take 2 quarterbacks in this class. We'll get to another quarterback later. But yeah, Rider Lions is committing on Tuesday the 24th. I don't know exactly what time, but BYU is definitely putting up a fight. I wouldn't be shocked if he commits to BYU. A lot of the recruiting services have him going to BYU.
Mm.
I think they've really struck his heart with the being so strong to the LDS faith and potentially being that starter when he comes back from his mission trip.
Yeah,
he's going to be that guy, and I don't blame him. Gets to take a 1-year trip and then possibly come to whatever school and start right away. That's totally cool. BYU, they also have a pretty competitive NIL package for him, is from what I'm hearing. So we'll see. Maybe Dan Lanning, Will Stein can get on the phone and make last-minute changes to their NIL package, a package he can't refuse, or some form of change to their recruiting pitch. But if Rider Lions does commit to Oregon, that's going to be huge for their class as a whole, because Lions would then act as the crown jewel, the leader of the class. Essentially, when a quarterback does commit to that class, he is their recruiter. I mean, I'm not saying that anybody else can't recruit, but it's usually the quarterbacks that are recruiting other dogs to come play with them. So
it'll also, because Dante can also stay another year. So if he does decide to stay one more year, we're not necessarily like scrambling to find that backup for the 2026 season. So I mean, if Rider Lions decides Oregon's his home, it's not like we need to be like, okay, well, he's going to be gone a year. We got to wait till 2027. He's going to be a lock for 2027 because we're going to lose Dante. It will suck because you won't have that like experienced player to kind of
learn from.
To develop from. Kind of like how Dante had Gabriel. And I think that's what's going to be a huge key to his success this season, is just because he did take that that opportunity to kind of sit back and learn. And I think with like Rider Lions committing to Oregon, he's not really going to have that availability to just kind of sit back and learn, unless they get someone else in like the transfer portal, like how they got Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah. No, you make a good point. I mean, it would be good for Rider Lions to have somebody that he can learn from and be just sit on the sideline and learn from, like somewhat like Bo Nix and who's that other guy on there?
Ty
Ross
Thompson.
Hmm?
Are you talking about Oregon?
Yeah, talking about Oregon.
Ty Thompson.
No, not Ty Thompson. Luke Moga and
Moga.
Yeah, Luke Moga, and then Dante and Dylan. You know, you're not always going to get a Trevor Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa, somebody who can come right in that's a 5-star and just start right away. Those, while it does happen, those are rare cases where 5-star quarterbacks just come on in and they start right away. It's a lot to put on a young quarterback. So if Rider Lions, if he commits to Oregon, he doesn't have to worry about starting right away. I know that Dan will probably have a quarterback in place. That way, Rider Lions can easily learn the. I mean, it's a pretty easy
Ease his way into it.
Yeah, ease his way into college, get accustomed to the college game and the offense, learn more from Will Stein, get connected with his offensive coordinator. So there's no pressure. There's no pressure.
Do you think him going on this mission is going to do you think it may affect his ability to play the game at that high caliber level as all these other people coming in for that class, taking that year off? Like, do you think it's going to affect him in any way? Or
Like physically, like being out of the game for so long, not being able to train? Yeah, I kind of wondered that because Gatlin Bear, the 5-star wide receiver that we recruited a couple years ago, he's LDS, and I think he's on a 2-year mission. And
I should be getting him next year, right?
For 2026, yes.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder the same thing. Is he going to be in, good physical shape to be able to run routes, be able to have the same speed?
Yeah.
It's a question that has to be asked. Is he going to be ready? And I mean, I wouldn't imagine that Gatlin Bear or then Rider Lions, when they go on their trip, all they're doing is just working. I would imagine that they have some form of free time where Bear or Lions can train, keep physically fit. But no, that's a good question. That's a good question that needs to be asked, and we'll see when Bear gets here and is signed and on the field for Oregon. We'll see whether he's ready to step up or not. So I had mentioned that Oregon has another quarterback target, kind of like an insurance policy if Rider Lions goes to BYU or elsewhere. They have Bryson Beaver, a former Boise State quarterback commit. Oregon offered him. He decommitted right away. It's a pretty telling sign that he has a lot of interest in going to Oregon. He's not as highly rated as Rider Lions is. He is a sub 4-star. But from what I've heard is that Beaver is a fast rising quarterback in the recruiting services. They really like him. And Dan just wants to get at least one quarterback in this class. I don't know if he'll have the same pull as the Rider Lions would recruiting other guys. But to get a quarterback locked in, that's always good. You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Let's see who else we have.
There's the edge out of Los Angeles that they are.
Richard Wesley?
Richard Wesley, yeah. He's
Yeah.
on their target list right now.
So, I don't know if we had discussed Richard Wesley, the Southern California edge, before I went on vacation, but essentially what happened was Wesley committed to Oregon, and 17 days later he decommits, which was probably like one of the shortest commitment spans for Oregon. It was definitely caught by surprise being so soon.
It was definitely a premature commitment.
Yes, it was.
He was definitely not ready to commit.
Mm-mm.
I think it was just the fact that he got a little excited.
Yeah.
Dan was there. And I think he just wanted to say kind of what Dan wanted to hear. I think he, again, just kind of got caught in the moment and just prematurely just committed. I still think he may end up in Oregon. I think he'd be a good fit. But, I mean, time can only tell. I think he's going to be committing here soon, too. But, yeah, it was definitely just a premature thing. He definitely was not ready to commit. It has a lot to do with the fact that he decommitted 17 days later, like you said. I'm not going to think anything of it. I think he'll still be with Oregon by the end of it.
Yeah, I think when it all comes down to it, I do agree with you that Oregon is placed for him. His dad came out and said that after Richard had committed, his dad said that his recruitment was still open. So you're right, it was a premature commitment. That's okay. It happens. You can always decommit. Take your visits. Make sure that Oregon is the right place for you if that's where you want to go. And Dan Lanning is really good about that. I've read where Dan is encouraging other players to take other visits
Yeah.
because he wants
He wants what's best for them, not
exactly
necessarily what's best for him.
exactly.
Because obviously this would be like the best offensive tackle, defensive edge.
Yeah.
That Oregon can get in this class, and
He
so
wa-
obviously Dan's gonna push heavy for him.
Yeah, he is. He's gonna push heavy, but
He
he's
wants
also-
he wants him to be successful and work like so. If I mean, again, it's just really it just comes down to where's the best fit for him, and Dan wants what's best fit for the players, not what's best for the it's not an organization but
program.
program program.
We are a program.
Yep, the program. And honestly, that's what's like super respectable about Dan is he wants the players to succeed more than he wants himself to succeed. Not that he doesn't want to succeed, but to be a good coach, you have to be able to
Put your players first.
put the players first, and that's what he's trying to do with these commitments. And honestly, that's honestly why I see where a lot of success in the recruiting comes from is because these players know that he only has the best intentions for them. To help them reach those ceilings that they haven't even reached yet.
And Dan Lanning, he wants players that want to be at Oregon, not just because they're there conveniently, just because they got a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you want to be there, when you want to be at a certain place, you're going to give it your all.
Yeah, the work ethic's just completely different.
Exactly. And that's what Dan Lanning wants. He wants to get the best out of you, and when your head is in it, you're going to give it your all. You're going to give 110% all year round. So,
yeah, I definitely think that that's just like one of Dan's strong suits is just helping these players see where their potential could be and how great they can be, whether it's with the Oregon program or whether it's in with another one. He, like you mentioned earlier, he always keeps those bridges open, so that way. Maybe Oregon was right for them, and they just needed to go somewhere else to see that. Like that's just something that's just again where I think Dan gets a lot of success from, is being that kind of coach.
well, he's just a natural people person.
Yes.
You know, he knows how to talk to people. He himself is a dad.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to be able to be that mentor for his players, to be good fathers, to be good husbands, to be good leaders in the community. All three of those he wants for his players, like he would want for his sons.
Yeah.
And that makes for an excellent recruiter, and Dan Lanning is that.
Yes.
I don't think we have many names to go over right now unless there are somebody that you're aware of that I'm not, who will be committing soon. I guess if we don't have anybody, I kind of just wanted to talk about this recruiting class as a whole. I was thinking about this on my way over here and just how spoiled we've been with recruiting last year.
Yeah.
The year before that.
Yeah.
I mean, we were hot on the recruiting trail. Yes, there were some misses. We did miss out on 5 stars, 4 stars here and there. You're not gonna get them all, but it just, for whatever reason, it seems like this cycle is different. And I kind of want to talk about the reasons as to why this cycle is so hit or miss. We've gone, aside from Messiah Hampton and Jet Washington, this has been a very slow cycle for Oregon.
I think honestly a lot of that has to do with kind of what you said. These players are seeing that they have more opportunities at other programs where they can jump on the field sooner. I mean, last year, like, our offensive recruiting, astronomical. Like, it was great. You got Decorian Moore. You had we picked up who's the running back we just picked up
From last year?
Yeah,
The same recruiting class as Decorian?
Yeah.
Well,
I guess it was this
past recruiting cycle.
Yeah.
So we picked up 2. We picked up De'Aaron Hill,
Uh-huh.
and then we picked up Jordan Davison.
Jordan Davison.
Davison is the more heavier guy, the more of the bulkier downhill running back. De'Aaron Hill is the more of the scat back. I don't know how much you saw of De'Aaron Hill in the spring game when you were there.
There's another back that we got.
For this cycle? Oh, are you talking about possibly in the transfer portal?
Maybe.
We got a Mekhi Hughes out of Tulane.
Yeah.
He is the brother of Naeem Offer.
Yeah. Anyways, the point is, I think that there's a lot of these guys they're seeing that Oregon is kind of set with, a lot of returning talent, a lot of incoming talent. They're seeing these opportunities elsewhere, again, to get on the field quicker, to get more playing time, to kind of prove themselves a little bit more. So I think that may be why we're kind of seeing a decline in the top tier talent. It sucks because, again, a lot of these players are not necessarily guaranteed for next year. They could enter the transfer portal at any point in time. They could be here for 2 years and then dip the third and fourth. They could only be, 2 years and then they have to be 3 years before they can get drafted, right? Or is it 2?
Yes.
It's 3.
They have to be on campus, in school, for 3 years. Do they have to play all 3? No, obviously not.
Yeah.
No.
Essentially, they have to go through 3 years of eligibility.
Yes.
To get drafted.
Yes.
So it's just really on paper. Obviously, we want a lot of these guys to stick with the program, help bring the chip home. But right now you're looking at it you're probably better off going elsewhere if you're looking to get playing time right away. Now, if you're looking to develop, schools like Oregon or Ohio State, you can develop from those returning players and then be a better player, your second, third year.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's just let me just showcase my talent right now. Let me get hot now. You risk. It's a big risk you take because you could be pretty bad. Not that you're gonna be bad, but
you're gonna make freshman mistakes.
Exactly. Things that you could clean up if you were, you just took the back seat, learned a little bit, maybe chip in on the smaller roles, the filling in for when the guys need a rest, or being available in case of injury, or playing in the special teams, just the smaller roles that are pretty big, small roles. It's you can't not have these, these things on the field, but at the same time, it's just a lot of them are just I think it's an ego boost. Nothing wrong with it. Obviously, if that's what you want to do, but it's also you should really do what's best for you developmentally to be that better player rather than what's best for you right now.
Correct. I would love to be a fly on the wall in the Oregon recruiting room, or the war room, I guess they would call it.
Pretty sure the war room is more of a draft room.
Okay.
That's what they refer to as the draft room.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna call it Oregon Recruiting War Room. That's what I'm gonna call it.
Sounds
so
good to
I'm
me.
gonna go with it. I really want to just pick Dan's brain for this recruiting cycle. What's going through his mind? Is it a combination of factors where kids, they see it as, hey, I can play elsewhere? Because we know that Oregon can develop. We know that Oregon has money. We know that Oregon has a winning tradition. So what is it? Is it the rise of other programs right now? Where USC, I guess, is a hot name. It's popular to go to USC now. USC has their NIL situation all figured out. They're aggressive on the recruiting trail as opposed to before. So I guess it's cool to go to USC now, even though they haven't won hardly anything in the past couple of years.
Been pretty mid, but honestly, time can only tell. Like you said, USC hasn't really won a whole lot. Right now, they're hot. They are hot on the recruiting for next year. I think within a few years, they could probably be in that that big dog conversation just with the amount of high caliber talent they're currently reeling in. Who's to say that? I mean, they don't bomb the season,
and then their class falls apart. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, it's possible. I don't see it. I mean, they've been going pretty close to 500 the last couple seasons. So if close to 500 is going to get you these top recruits, I honestly think these top recruits could easily turn that program around. Scary to say, but it may be something that's coming.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
Honestly, like if they were more of a competitive team, it'll make those games a little more exciting.
Sure.
It'll definitely get Dan's blood pumping. He loves those
challenges.
Those challenges. Mm-hmm. He wants a reason to give it. Like he wants to give his guys a reason to always give it their all. And I mean, we saw him that Ohio State game. He wasn't giving up for anything. Even though I'm talking like the first Ohio State game, not the Rose Bowl.
Yes.
He was determined. We saw that game. It was back and forth all game, and ultimately he came out on top. And honestly, I can't wait for more games like that. I feel like we're going to be seeing Ohio State year after year for a while, even if they're not on our schedule. I almost guarantee we're going to see them in the postseason. And the thing about Dan is, though he may have had a pretty brutal loss, he throws that away and he's prepared for the next one.
Yeah.
He's going to come out like it's a whole clean slate, and he's just going to try and put the pounding on the other team. Look at Washington. He tried to play aggressive both times. Didn't work out for him. Came out last year. Granted, Washington was a little bit different of a team.
Yes.
He didn't care. Took the bat out on him and gave him a beatdown.
This is true. This is true. And one thing I do want to mention is even though we've been kind of sinking on the recruiting trail a little bit, and we've been seeing the rise of other teams, players going elsewhere, I don't know, maybe Dan wants to fill this class more with transfer portal guys.
Yeah.
Maybe more experienced. Maybe he sees his team as good for right now, but that doesn't really make sense to me because Dan's all about like stockpiling talent. He's
always about making the next guy better.
Always about making the next guy better. If you bring in a 5-star wide receiver, well, I'm going to go get this other 5-star receiver if I can, who's better than you, to make you better.
Yeah, to push you.
But does he go out and does he go transfer portal heavy this season? Maybe. Maybe he leans in the portal more than the high school ranks. And I have to remind myself, even though this will be like my final statement, but even if we are tanking in recruiting and we're not so hot, I just have to remember, if Oregon has the season that we predict and we project for them to have, 10, 11 win season, make it to the playoffs, that season and that success will recruit for itself. We'll be just fine.
Yeah. I do think that's a good statement. Again, we've said this multiple times. We have full trust in Dan. His process is his process. He's usually pretty reliable. In his time with Oregon, he's obviously won way more than he's lost this will be his 4th season with Oregon, I believe. 4th or 5th. I think it's 4th. And he's just done a great job. I think whatever he's got planned, it's going to be great. And hopefully in his time with Oregon, we'll finally bring that chip home. So we just got to get over the little things. We got to honestly just be watching that Rose Bowl game on repeat. Where do they need to get better? Treat every guy like it's Jeremiah Smith. Don't let him get behind you. I feel like if they do that, then I feel like teams will fear playing them. And I feel like it'll bring in this talent that we've been missing out on. So I think that's a good stopping point. Unless you had anything else you wanted to cover.
No, sir. We'll be continuing to follow the Oregon recruiting trail as time goes on. Usually commits, students, football players. They usually like to make their commitments in the summertime before their senior season starts. So we should expect an uptick in commitments. Hopefully that bodes well for Oregon, and we see a couple more commitments to make the finishing touches on this class. So that'll be it for the Football Night Lights podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
See you guys.
See ya.